funding and so on, we're not going to get far. People have to eat. People want to have some kind of stability in their life, have some kind of stable, knowing that they don't have to go hustle to make sure their kids are fed. If we understand how important that is into our psyche, we will be a lot better. Because if we don't believe that that's important, we're fooling ourselves.
But there's another model. Because you're speaking from a lens that is essentially Western.
I'm saying that even like indigenous groups understood the material needs of their communities. It's a material model, yes, but it's a nature model, if you will. It's how nature works.
So you conflating nature and the humane reality of the people's thinking that is different from the thinking in the West. Like the I is not in the First Nation people. The I isn't central. The we.
Of course, right.
The family is the focus. And so when I is placed before we, then you get what you're speaking about.
Absolutely.
And so it's a completely different. And so when you mentioned Mandela, and I was going to just let it go because I know with this conversation, especially here in the US, is going to go because people are raised completely different over here. And people are moved purposely around so that the family gets broken up. And people have come here for one specific reason, to make it. And economically, and they take money and they send it around the world. And it's not about the collective. There is no America. I've been here for a while now, and there is no America. There's just taking for I. Like the get, what's the line? I'm going to get mine. And so that doesn't actually exist in the South. There's still an understanding, and granted, Mandela is an example of that watering down actually, in actual fact. Because Mandela realized they were going to murder us all if he didn't sign that agreement.
How?
You understand what I mean? And people in South Africa call him Nelson Mandela a South Africa. Everywhere in South Africa, because he made that choice, because they held that against, they showed him, if you, when you said he met with them, when he met with them, they showed him, this is what we'll do to your country. We will completely destroy this place. And because he's not an I person, he's like, how do I stop it? You get what I mean? So that's why I asked the question. Because does hip hop then just become a tool for that same mechanism? Because if we place an I before we, then we will lose more of our, to the system. Because the system doesn't care about people. You know what I mean? Which is, for me, like being here as part of this, of Hip Hop Congress, central is our community, is our global community. And if we're telling the kids that we're going to find funding by any means necessary, then we are contradicting ourselves. Then we're not placing our community, and we're not finding an alternative to solve this problem. We're talking about placing, my well-being. Because it's also a very good excuse. It's actually not well-being. Money isn't well-being. We just had this a mental health conversation. If money was something that centered and healed you,
right.
Some of the most, the richest multi-billion.
I didn't say money. I said material.
Yeah, but that is what.
Okay.
But that is
No,
what.
it's very different.
But you
It's
understand,
very different.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Because
totally understand.
In the US, it's very easy, like the need for material.
No, it is, and like Tina was saying, it's because of the necessities, right? We don't own our land. We don't have like I can go to Colombia now. My mom transitioned. She left me a plot of land. I'm planning to go create my own
Go ahead,
sanctuary.
girl.
And for my family, I'm gonna grow my food. I'm gonna have a well. That's, thank God for that, right? But here, I have nothing. I don't even have a savings. And so, I get you what you're saying, but the lesser of two evils, right, is either getting Rockefeller money, right, and staying at their.
I'm not saying not
No,
taking
but I'm
I'm
just
just
giving you an
saying
example.
the portion.
I'm gonna, no,
I
I'm
think
giving
You know
you
what I
can
mean?
be honest.
yeah, no, I'm giving you an example. Or I can get money from Sony or the taken money from bigger companies for our receptions. But it's really hard. It's hard to survive, and I definitely don't want any of my schools to take any of that type of money at all. No, we will find a way. But to have this convening in November is historic, not only because of the space that we're gonna come together. We don't get to come together often, right? And to do something as important as what we're gonna do, it means that it's finally going to move the needle, even if we're in the Illuminati's house, because at the end of the day,
They whole house.
we're more powerful, and that's why they're inviting us in.
Mm.
I'm gonna speak to, it's so important to be open-minded, because, somebody makes 2 points and you're like, yeah, and somebody makes 2 points, and so I feel the divide, not only just kind of in the room, but like divide in ourselves, for like immediate survival, and what I hear this brother saying is very valuable, the protective factor of our long-term survival.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, okay, our generation gets fed and we get to have a few events, but what happens, and I think what, if I'm understanding, is how that justification starts pushing the needle, right? So I think both are very vital, but I do think that what you're saying is the protective factor for our future selves.
And balance.
Because what happens is that the next generation's like, well, we got this money from Rockefeller and we were able to maintain 2 or 3 conferences and get it, and then it's like, well, maybe I can take money from Sony. And so I think this is a valuable conversation. Of course, we can't have it now, but in a continuum of like, where's the code? Like, we're gonna have to develop some kind of code, because somebody will somehow justify that move, and then 2 moves later, it's like, oops, we sold out, and we don't know where that fine line is. So I hear 2 extremes, like, hey, you gotta be wise.
I don't know the extreme. I understand what's happening.
No,
It's an extreme difference.
I'm saying the balance.
She didn't say the extreme difference.
Yeah, I'm saying the balance between adequate.
They're both and solution rather.
Yeah,
It-
and
it's
I think we're
not-
saying,
The one doesn't, like you exactly what you're saying with the outcome of the decision. Because the outcome of the decision is visible and within the Google search. So while you're talking about hip hop's power that it has, a kid could go online and be like, what are you talking about power? This is old. You know what I mean? Like
well,
they're
already, young people are already saying that we've done a horrible job, the hip hop generation, and have sold us out. I mean, in Harlem last year, we had an outdoor screening of a movie, the Marchivist movie, and they were doing some poetry, and some kid got up there and was like, hip hop sold us out, and just went in on our generation.
Hip
Like,
hop didn't sell us out. We were
are
sold.
the leaders, the new leaders, and if
We were co-opted and sold the same place slaves
our
were.
job
It's
right,
not,
that's what we'll
it's not
create,
one
right?
product
That
to just go
leadership.
and take
that's
and
what
say,
I think
okay,
that's where the
I sold
balance
it,
is.
that's
We're
it.
not saying
We're a community
gonna
of
just go
people.
do this. No, we're building the next generation of leaders that are gonna learn from us. And this is where the Hip Hop Congress and Hip Hop Education Center and all the other organizations that are working in this space, they have to understand that the balance is that you're gonna create a generation that the next generations are 2 that are gonna do better than us. My children work in this space. Melly Mel's granddaughter works in this space. We have generations of kids, so it's not like it's gonna go away tomorrow after we do this thing.
Mhm.
No, we've been training the next generation to do better.
Yeah, no, I
No.
absolutely.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know you were about to.
Sorry.
You had a hand up, and then if you want to yours, you can do that. 1, 2, 3. It's okay.
Okay. Wait.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
The hand go first and then you go.
Awkward. So I think that the dual consciousness that we exist in, and having to understand the sellout versus not. I mean, we're dealing with ancient power.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't and to me, where money comes from, is less important as to how we transmute that energy. And like we bring to the table 30 people with consciousness. There's no, like, personally, I don't give a fuck how much Illuminati energy is in there.
Right.
Like, it can't touch the power of 30 supercomputers sitting in the cipher. And I think that's where this has all led us to, because, you know, I started when I was in college in 2004, super late, and that was my only thought. Like, hip hop got me here, and I'm one energy. And then I started to realize how much power and transformation occurred within multiple people within my culture. And so they've done a good job at telling us, oh, well, if you take this, we sell out, but we haven't done a good job of saying, I'm going to take this and do what I will with it, and I'm going to will energy into that. Because that's the cutoff of ancient gnosis. It's like we've never really been exposed or experienced like power. And we've, you know, as we've dealt with revolution and generational trauma and all kinds of shit that's happened globally, we have been cut off from this part of our spirit that power was something innately terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But power is a mastery of energy, and our culture does it masterfully.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jesus, like we can take, you see these artists and people, and you know, I've traveled around and saw like where, you know, I was in Barcelona last summer, and dude, hip hop was everywhere. I was like, holy hell, like here. When I was in Peru, I saw it. I mean, so again, if we sit in the dual consciousness of this division, you know, we don't want to sell out. I know I'm not selling out, you know, and I also know that because I don't believe in money in a religiosity sense, in a worship sense, but money's always come. And like I've used money, you know what I'm saying? Like when I work with kids, like that's what they trip out. They're like, well, you're kind of expensive. And I was like, because you guys won't invest in the kids, so I'm gonna take 25% of what you give me and I'm gonna invest it straight back. Right? That's the transmutation of that energy, and like saying like, I know what I'm worth, but I'm also aware of what these people are worth. And so when we sit at that 30-person table, we need to continue to grow in community with each other so that energy never permeates that table. And as long as that is there, right? Like whoever gives us whatever. This is our community.
I said it's not gift, it's over. It's anything they give has been over. And
Yeah, and so
I don't know.
And that's the transmutation of the energy, and that's where our consciousness, and you know, if you gather 30 master consciousnesses, like there's nothing that's going to touch that. But we need to sit down and we need to have that conversation, and we need to build the Department of Hip Hop for the world. Like it's needed to be done for a long time. Like it's been in motion for 50 years. It's been in motions for thousands of years, because the ancient griots were telling us early on, we are connected in the community, and now hip hop is that global culture that is showing us. So I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. This isn't about survival. It's about adaptation and evolution.
Can I speak this? For me, exactly like it's energy, right? And so when there's a group, when there's a collective of energy that has a specific agenda, then that energy can be shifted. Like especially that energy that you're speaking about, it will select not to put its mind in. It will select to direct it elsewhere. It is done. It's always done. And so why I'm having this conversation amongst us is that we are aware of that way that this energy shifts.
Yeah.
Right? And we see it with the MCs primarily, where they select a specific type of voice to speak on behalf of this entire culture. So much so that hip hop is synonymous with that.
Yes.
Nothing else. You know what I mean? And that's the power of that energy.
Yeah.
But can I just respond real
It's
quick?
okay, don't even worry about me.
No, your voice is important, but I think it's important In November of 2023, I was so disheartened by hip hop's 50th
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, I think I'm finally gonna give up on hip hop. Like I told my daughters, I was like, I'm just disgusted. And then Diddy moved on. And that's when it shifted.
Right.
And that's when it was like, God was like, girl, come on, I got you. You just have to go through this. You had to go through all 30 years of ignoring the work. Everybody, somebody new, a new hip hop scholar comes and talks about hip hop education. The cameras are over there. Meanwhile, I've been busting my ass, doing this work, nobody cared.
Yep.
A new hip hop dancer, oh yeah, we teaching hip hop education. Oh my God, brand new, like they just found out about it. Imagine if Diddy, Jay-Z, Dre, all of them came together and Rockefeller gave them a
Mm-hmm.
you know what that would cost. So it was, the timing is now. The timing is now, and thank God I did, because I was really, so, I mean, I was like done with hip hop. But that was the sign that was like, nope, your time is coming up, we just need to expose the darkness so that we can make that shift.
I'm gonna try to keep it short. The fact is, when it comes to money, first off, like you were saying, money is just the transmutation of human life energy manifest in a physical form. We exchange our time, which we cannot receive back, for money, right? So it's the embodiment of life energy, right? We all agree on this, right? Well, the fact is that hip-hop's relationship with money has always been morally compromised from the start. It was drug dealers that funded our shit. Straight up. It was gang leaders that made it safe for kids to congregate in spaces. It was criminals looking to do something better than what they were doing that started hip-hop. This shit was never a fucking monastery.
Right.
So like, I'm not gonna get
Thank
too
you.
worried about the fact that there might be some blood on our money, because there's blood on all the money. Conceptually, money is blood.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
all.
My invitation is, before we rush to get whatever kind of money, because we're an elite group in here having this conscious, but it doesn't matter if the community doesn't know this.
Right.
And then we take the money and then we try to backpedal to teach them this. So perhaps we just need to make sure that before we take whatever bloody money, because this is just, it's still weird to say it. I don't care, even if conceptually, like, that's really powerful words. So I would say, let's invest first in making sure the collective that are going to inherit this money get on this wavelength, because it's not enough for us to know that, and then the greater folks who are still going by a different code go differently. So perhaps before that 30 come together, or whatever the structure in this meeting is, there's some kind of boot camp or something where like this is really, really explained, because that transparency is what's gonna matter when we have to share it with the greater community. And that way we can talk about these protective factors, our survival factors, and just having all those things considered, because if not, we're just another silo right now, making decisions for a larger community. So it probably is exactly what you're saying, and you're saying, it needs to be a transparent conversation so that they know these folks that are accepting money and then making decisions on behalf of benefiting hip hop, we break that mold of like not being transparent about it, because it's just not enough for us to have this higher stream of consciousness and then make a decision. So we just need to make sure to like workshop it, share it, and make our intentions really, really clear. I think that's going to be important to get our community to have the trust that we really, really want them to have. So that's my little piece on that.
I want to speak a bit about power. I think that you're right, Martha. I think a lot of what we're seeing now with this Gen Z, I'm gonna take some ownership. Like, you know, what we've been doing is why they are like they are now, and so on and so. You know, I believe that to my core. But I believe, yes, Western idea of power is not the same as what I'm talking about, but also taking care of community is my book 360 is a circle, and it is about power. And so we can be honest, you know, the more we control, the better. So that's why I say, like, I'm trying to build from the ground up, like where you take care of our own. And it's not easy because, one, a lot of us don't have a lot. Resources are held in the hands of very few. And so when you get reparations in any kind of way, I'm like, take it, whatever. Take your reparations, call it reparation, because all of that money was off of people's stolen land and free labor. And so I'm not going to be here apologizing for taking that money from them. It is reparation. And be honest about it, though. And then also, you're making the mindset of these youth that are getting it to understand how critically important power is and power as control. The more we control for ourselves, the more we'll be able to have this community self-determination that you're talking about. But as long as we don't, and we have people that are struggling to survive, they will do whatever they need to, which is what hip-hop was formed out of, okay? To survive in that Bronx kind of mentality and level of oppression, burning buildings and so on. It was the hustler, like you said, it was the hustler, it was the hustler, it was the hustler, because they had material needs. And so we're not going to really be honest about people's material needs. We're going to continue to not see the progress that we want to see in terms of our community.
And I mean, sorry to interject, but like the reason why corporate forces, why the man has so much influence over our culture is because they can meet the material needs of people. That's their leverage. They can pay people to organize on their behalf.
Can I give you an example of something?